One of the biggest issues you have on Amazon or Walmart or anywhere else is building an audience to launch a product with. You can go out and build a Facebook group or an Instagram group or try to get an influencer, but you need to build an audience. And by having an NFT, it's like a membership card. It's people of a similar mentality that want to participate. By buying the NFT, that then gives them rights to actually help us develop products.
Liran Hirschkorn, your host of the E-commerce Mindset Podcast, and I just finished interviewing the one, the only Kevin King. If you've been in the Amazon space for some time, you surely know Kevin. But I think you'll find this a little bit kind of a different kind of interview. I've known Kevin since 2015, so we have really good rapport. We kind of spoke a little bit about actually when we met, but then a little bit about different topics. Amazon, we spoke about NFTs and e-commerce. We spoke about the current project of NFTs that we're in that was started by Manny, the original founder of Helium, and why we both kind of invested into that project. We ended up speaking about the predictions for 2023, which I think you'll find interesting, and some of the different projects Kevin is working on. So I think you'll just find it to be a really interesting conversation. Podcast, as always, is sponsored by Incrementum Digital. At Incrementum Digital, we help you scale your business using the power of Amazon advertising, Amazon DSP, optimizing your listings with better titles, bullets, A+ content, images, helping you with Amazon posts, and really helping you use PPC to both rank products and lower your tacos, and also optimize your business as it's gotten more challenging over the last year or so. So visit incrementumdigital.com. The podcast is also sponsored by 8fig.co. 8fig is your best solution for growth capital for your business. 8fig helps you not only just get growth capital, but it's one of the most or the most flexible solution for e-commerce sellers to get growth capital, along with a dashboard they have to help you see your profitability and manage your supply chain. Check out 8fig.co. They also recently launched a mobile app, which allows you to see all that data as well. I think you're going to really enjoy this podcast with Kevin King. Okay, so we have with us Kevin King today. If you've been in the Amazon e-commerce space, you must know who Kevin King is. Otherwise, you may not be in the space. So wanted to introduce Kevin, who's got his dog there in the background. Kevin is, Amazon seller, speaker, has been involved in Helium 10, creating Freedom Ticket, Helium 10 Elite events. He runs a virtual and live event called $1 Billion Seller Summit, another project with Steve Stuyvesant called Product Savant. And we're going to talk today a little bit about e-commerce, NFTs, and some of what Kevin's been up to. So welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, man. It's good, always good to talk with you. There's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you on. Yeah, I'd love to hear
I remember when I first met you, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2015, 2016, in Atlanta, wasn't it? It was like Sellers, it was at Seller Labs, I think, was doing like an event.
Yes.
And I went out to that event. Jeff Cohen said, Kevin, you got to come out. You can't speak because back then we were doing the Helium 10. Oh, it actually is called Illuminati.
Right.
And it was a little edgy. And he's like, we can't have you speak, but you're welcome to come out. So I came out, and I remember like the night before, we were all sitting around some like break room or conference room or something. And there's this guy over there, like, you're the only one in the room that knew anything. You're like, or like talking, and like you had information on whatever the topic came up with. And I was like, who is this guy? He actually knows a thing or two. I never heard of him before. And that was you. I was,
yeah,
we go back a ways.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that was like 7 years ago or so. So
that was before what, 2 babies and
yeah, my daughter's 8, so probably right after that, and then I have a 10-month-old now. So yeah, it's long time ago. I'm sure a lot's happened in your life and business since 2015.
Well, I'm doing the same thing. It's kind of I've got a couple new projects, but it's just like, why mess with something if it works,
Right.
So Illuminati was something that Manny and Guillermo started with Helium 10 back in 2017 to be like a more advanced kind of, it's modeled off, Ben Cummings has his thing, and there were a couple others out there, and they're like, hey, we need something like that. So we started that, and then we got pushback on the name. A lot of people said that name's a little offensive, some of the religious people and stuff. So it got rolled into a Helium 10 as a membership level called Helium 10 Elite. And so I still orchestrate that. Basically, I come on every month and do 7 ninja hacks, and I bring on 3 guests. You've been on it a few times. Some of your team has been on it. Mansoor has been on it. So And then I do the Freedom Ticket course. So I've done 3 versions of that for them, which is A to Z on how to sell on Amazon. And then, I do the $1 Billion Seller Summits. I still sell. I have 3 active. I have 4 Amazon accounts. One of them's not active, but 3 of them still sell on. And then do product savants. I speak at different events. Coming up, we have one in Brooklyn. I think I'll see you at in Brooklyn, which is a really cool event. And so, I'm just kind of sticking my head down, doing the same old thing.
Right. It is one of those things, like if you kind of stick into one thing long enough, like you eventually just become, hopefully eventually become very successful, and, you gain a lot of like knowledge, network, right? Like I think so many people along the way that probably we've met that are no longer, in this business, over the years. And also some of the, sort of gurus who were really out just to kind of scam people, have come and gone along the way too.
Yeah, they either faded out because they didn't deliver, or the FTC came and got them.
Right. Yeah. There's a bunch of people. I mean, not to specifically name, but I just heard Just One Dime just filed like bankruptcy court. They were selling like an Amazon automation, thing, and then you had Kevin David and his partner automation,
Dave Arnett, I think, or what's the name?
Yeah. And unfortunately, many innocent people got hurt along the way who were kind of naive and bought into this stuff. But
one of the things that always, like, for me is like, when you get to, you're a public figure, you're out there, is people sometimes will try to use you. And you're speaking of One Dime, he's actually based here in Austin, where I'm based. And I was at like a cilantro, like one of these like salad places where you make a bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
About a year and a half ago. And he happened to be at the same place. And I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me. He came up afterwards, like, "Hey, can we take a picture together?"
Right.
And I was like, what do you do in that situation? We took a picture together, but is that, you don't know, is that picture going to be used in some sort of marketing? Am I then validating him? It's like, look, I'm with, it's, people do this. I'm with Tony Robbins, some sort of validation that you're
right.
So I was like, yeah, you got to be careful, who you associate with. And I mean, you've known it. You and Brandon used to, I remember a few years ago, you guys were calling everybody out online. Like someone did something. It was either you or Brandon, like, "Hey, this is BS." And you called people on the spot, and it was awesome.
Right.
And it needs to happen more in this business, because there's just a lot of riffraff.
Yeah. A lot of automation stuff. And, I know people personally. I know a guy that told me messaged me about, Kevin David stuff like a year ago. And he said, yeah, me and like others, in a group together, it's like $10 million that we've been conned together. Everyone put in like $100,000, whatever, and money's gone. And, good luck getting it back, And
it's like the FTX guys or the crypto guys. The money's gone. The money's gone. Sounds good, but the money's gone. It's
pretty crazy. I mean, it's kind of the importance of why having a network is good, because you can ask people, you can find out about people, you can, new sellers just see ads for this stuff and they don't know anyone. And
I mean, a lot of these guys are brilliant marketers. I mean, you look at their marketing, it's like, man, they could just be legit. The marketing is really, really good.
Right.
But there's no substance behind it, and it's just a pyramid scheme.
Right. And I've known you to always be very blunt upfront, like
it gets me in trouble sometimes. Sometimes I speak too freely.
Right. But there's also something to be said of being blunt upfront and, telling it like it is, in everything that you do, because a lot of people take advantage or make money short term and don't do that. But, at the same time, it's like good business, because you end up having longevity in the space and people trust you because, you're not looking to take advantage of it. You're looking to help people.
Now, everybody needs a little helping hand sometime. And there's so much misinformation. I like to try to help people the best I can and set that straight. I don't have time to answer every little Facebook post and stuff. I mean, you were at one point, I remember before you started Incremental Digital, you were like avid on there. Like someone would post within seconds, you were like responding. I don't know how you, I mean, it didn't matter if it's 3 a.m. You must have had the phone glued to your hand and just coming in, and you were like super good at responding to everything. And I maybe it's my feed is not showing it as much anymore, but you're really, really good about that.
Yeah, and I mean, generally will answer every single DM, that I get, even if it's a quick sort of response, or if it's not immediately. I still try to do that. I don't know. It's a combination of guilty conscience, maybe, or not feeling like I'm not really responding to somebody, or whatever it is. But I do try to help when when I can, and if I can respond to something. I want to get into some of the other things you're involved in, but one of the reasons you asked me to sort of like, hey, let's talk, is the idea of using NFTs in e-commerce, and how sellers can leverage it. And maybe it's not as hot of a topic today because the whole kind of market has gone down, unless you're in bulls and apes, which we're both in, which I think we're probably both up nicely with what we have. But I think it's a really interesting topic. And one thing I'll say about it is that a friend of mine, David Guillaume, who owns Mary Ruth Organics, big brand, 9-figure brand, he brought on Gary Vaynerchuk on their board. And then shortly thereafter, I saw they had a promotion where the founder signed some of the bottles in the warehouse of the supplement. And if you ended up getting a signed bottle, then you won like a VFriends NFT or something. Cool. So it's kind of a cool way. And they did this promotion basically. And, I mean, if you were going to order one bottle, maybe you're going to order now for the next 6 months, of the supplement, because during this promotional period where, you want to order more so that you have maybe a better chance to get one of those signed bottles, which is pretty cool idea of kind of how to do a promotion and kind of integrate it with NFTs. But we'd love to hear, I know you mentioned to me you've done like hour-long presentations on this topic, on kind of how you see it integrating, and do you see it primarily as something off Amazon versus on Amazon?
Yeah, I did like an hour presentation at the Sail and Scale, Helium 10 Sail and Scale event back in September on stage, which if you have access to that, or I also did one for Augustus for Orange Click channel. So it's on YouTube. You could probably just Google Kevin King NFT Orange Click or something if you want to see the full explanation. But, NFTs are one of those, it's kind of a tricky thing. There's a lot of people that are like, that's just a bunch of JPEG pictures.
Right.
And yeah, some of it is just a bunch of JPEG pictures, and it was a hot thing. The markets, I get this daily newsletter called Nifty NFT, and, they have all these little stories. And I just saw one the other day, like the market's down, I think the Guardian, they linked to an article in the Guardian and said it's down like 95% or something like that. There was like something like $12 billion spent on NFTs in the fourth quarter of last year. And then now it's like 270 million or something. It's like way down. Right. And that's true. I mean, there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of get rich quick. There's a lot of fly by night people that were coming in just trying to make a buck, creating all these crazy things. And most of it had no substance. It's kids in their underwear that were 15 years old. They had never built a business before. They would set these roadmaps and all these things and all these promises. They couldn't deliver on any of it.
Right.
And it became a problem. So a lot of it's just crashed and burned. And you see negativity in the press about NFTs, they're dead. They're not dead. This is the internet's 1998, 1999. You probably remember pets.com. People, and there was companies selling furniture online, and they all went out of business. And people,
I mean, look, in 1999, I think there was a article, there was a cover of Barron's was Amazon.bust or something, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They're predicting, Amazon's not going to make it.
Nobody's going to buy furniture. Nobody's going to buy dog food online.
Right.
And look now, Wayfair and Amazon, everybody's selling furniture. It's the same thing. It's a shakeout going on right now in the whole crypto world. I mean, there's a lot of fraud. You have the thing with FTX. There's just been I was a 30-year-old kid with no business experience. Yeah, his parents were Stanford law professors, but he was running it like he was running something out of his backyard, moving money around. So there's an issue that this is a shakeout. It's going to get real. And maybe we can talk a little bit later, but like bulls and apes, that's a real project.
Right.
And that's, like you said, we're up 3x or something on that right now. Everybody else is down. We're up 3x. And I think that's about to go to maybe 10x with what they're about to do early next year. And that's because there's real business behind it. They've got 40 employees. They're doing it right. They have experience, and that more of those people are going to come in. But back on the original question on NFTs with e-commerce, what we're doing, we have a company called Green Ocean Labs, and we do recycled sustainable products. And NFTs are a lot more than just a JPEG. NFTs can be tied to contracts. They can be tied to a whole wide range of things. If you go watch that presentation on YouTube, you'll see I outline it all, but it's a whole wide range of things. It's going to change the way we live. And then over the next 10 years, as this takes root in a lot of different industries. And so what we're looking at is using these as something, tying it to e-commerce. It's almost like a membership card. So the NFT itself, we're not selling NFTs speculatively. We're not saying, here, buy this NFT and you hope it 10Xs. No, you're buying this NFT and it gives you special rights. It's called utility in the NFT business. And those special rights are related to the products. So one of the biggest issues you have on Amazon or Walmart or anywhere else is building an audience to launch a product with. You can go out and build a Facebook group or an Instagram group or try to get an influencer or something, but you need to build an audience. And by having an NFT, it's like a membership card. It's people of a similar mentality that want to participate. And so by buying the NFT, that then gives them rights to actually help us develop products. So it's almost like our own PickFu. They'll be our own PickFu, and we'll say, if we have 5,000 NFT holders, we'll say, what do you want in a sustainable, all sustainable? You want a baby stroller made of 100% sustainable materials? Okay, what should it look like? And they'll help us through the design process, through the iteration process. And then if it makes sense on Amazon, we'll do our homework and our keyword research and all that kind of stuff. If it makes sense, then we'll go launch it on Amazon, or we'll get it developed and made using different companies like Zach Leonard's company or some of the others.
Yep.
And
Gemba.
Gimba, and we'll get it made, and then we'll put it up on Amazon, and we'll say, look, this audience, since you're an NFT holder, you get a discount. Or maybe not even a discount, but if you go buy this product on Amazon, it's live on Amazon. Go buy the product on Amazon. There's an NFC, not NFT, but NFC, near field communication code on every single product. If you scan that, we're going to airdrop an additional NFT into your wallet. It's free. It's a collectible NFT. So what we've done is we've created this cycle where people that are passionate about sustainability, people that are passionate about helping develop products and having an input, will then in turn launch the product on Amazon, and they get a benefit by launching that product. And then what we're going to do, it's a tricky situation.
And then you essentially can add them into like a Discord, right? Where
there'll be a Discord, and then there'll be some gamification to it, just like there is with Bulls and Apes, where they can do different things and earn like different things on their NFT. We have we have a lore, so we have a story, we have these different worlds, and we have this concept where there's this alien that came down to Earth and said, hey, this planet's totally effed up. I know my buddy over here on the water planet, he can come and help. My buddy here on the forest planet, all the sustainability type of stuff can come and help. And so you can earn different things from these different worlds. It's mixing collector mentality, community mentality with e-commerce. It's blending those three things together to solve a problem of launching on Amazon and cutting through the clutter and giving people what they want. And then by holding the NFT, that you'll have rights to say like a certain percentage of every product we sell, whether it's on Amazon, Walmart, direct to consumer, whatever, will go to sustainability efforts, and they'll get to vote. They'll say, if we sell 10,000 baby strollers and we raise, I don't know, what are these going to sell for? $100 a piece. We raise $1 million in gross sales.
Right.
A certain percentage of that, let's say 5%, $50,000 is going to go to or maybe more, sustainability fund. And they'll get to say what we use that for. As an NFT holder, let's say this is great. We want to go, clean up a river in South America, or we want to clean up a beach at Long Beach, and go and take all the plastics off that have been floating up. So they'll get to vote on that. So they feel like they're part of it. It's not just I have a membership card and I'm in a group. I'm part of this. I'm making a difference in the world. And the NFT will be the mechanism, but the NFT allows us to do all kinds of tracking. So we can track what their purchases are. We can track who's participated in different things, because it's all on the blockchain. And then every time one of these baby strollers in this example sells, they will earn points just by since they bought one to launch it. It's almost, I can't say, you have to be careful here on the securities. It's just to explain it in layman's terms, it's almost like a royalty. By holding an NFT, they get a royalty. We have to do it differently, but they get a royalty on every one of these items that are sold. So they're making money there. So that's what we're doing. And then we can track, since we're doing sustainability, if we're taking plastic bottles out of the ocean, out of the Mediterranean near Spain to use as the raw materials, we can track it, tie an NFT to the invoice where it came out of the water. There's companies that do this, one called Plastique, and then track that raw materials all the way to the factory and all the way through the process. So, a lot of companies say, hey, we do we donate 10% to, to this, or our products are 10% made of this. How do you really know?
Right.
It's going to be all in the blockchain, all transparent. So that's what we're doing. We're hoping to launch this brand. The brand's already live, but we're making a pivot on it. Well, we're hoping to launch it in March of next year, but we're having to wait now because there's a big company, and one of the partners, it knows the guys at Animoto, which is a huge company based over in Hong Kong that's really big into the crypto and the animation space. And they're coming out with a green token, just like you have the token, the ERC 20 tokens with Bulls and Apes. They're coming out with a green token, and it's going to tie across a whole bunch of sustainability products. And we were going to develop our own, and it's going to cost us about $600,000 to $800,000 minimum. But they're doing it, so we're waiting for them to launch that, which is probably going to be summer, and tie into that, and that's going to get us just like Bulls and Apes. So it brings all these other projects in, brings all this other audience in. It's going to create this whole flywheel, and that's how we're using it as it relates to e-commerce. And I think this could be huge. It's this is not something a brand new seller is going to be able to pull off. Right. This is not something I'm going to be teaching in Freedom Ticket. Hey, here's how to. Everybody should do this. You shouldn't. It's more for sophisticated sellers, but I think it's going to give us a major competitive advantage. Be key to brand building and key to launching anything we want on Amazon successfully.
Right. And so, essentially it's the idea of developing a engaged community around your product, along with, I guess, what's called like a DAO, right? Which is what it stands for, but basically a group of people that are making a decision.
Decentralized autonomous organization.
Yeah, there you go. So they're making decisions around what's gonna happen. I've seen, when NFTs kind of originally came out, I think I saw that certain movies even, right, were going to sell NFTs, raise money to make the movie, and then the DAO, the organization, would kind of vote on like what happens, right? What's the ending? Do you want this ending, or do you want this ending, or whatever it is, like around the movie, and kind of help create it, right? So you can kind of do that with e-commerce, with, like you said, future products, or what do you want to donate, or as far as like sustainability efforts, and utilize that community. And I guess if somebody does sell that NFT, which has some benefits, maybe discounts or something tied to it, then there's also a royalty that goes back to the organization, some of which can go back into that DAO or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Right?
And then some of the products we'll develop ourselves, but there's one of our partners in this. I've got some pretty key partners that are really tied into a lot of different aspects of the sustainable world. And one of them is on the board of a VC firm that sees all these deals. Also, all these companies that have done sustainable products, whether it be, bamboo towels or whatever it is, right? They're in these incubators, and they come to him, and he sees all the best ones. And these guys don't have a clue about how to sell retail, or how to sell D2C, or sell on Amazon. But they have a great idea, and they develop a good product. So we'll bring those people in too, into our ecosystem, because we'll have an audience, we'll have a community. And so it won't be just stuff that we develop. It'll be brand new stuff. We're not talking about going to Alibaba and putting our logo on something, changing it slightly. We're talking about like brand new stuff, and they're doing all the dirty work of developing it and getting it up. And we'll say, hey, does our market like this? We have 5,000 or 10,000 NFT holders. Yep. They like it. Okay, let's launch it. And does it make sense on Amazon or Walmart or Shopify or wherever? And that's what we're doing. We think it could be very, very successful.
Do you know, are there any like known or any companies out there that you know of that are kind of leveraging this at the moment, or not?
Not that I know of. Not in this way. Not it's because it takes that you got to know people in the NFT world that know how to pull that off. You got to have the people for us, sustainability. You got to know the e-commerce side. So we have a really good team from all these different worlds brought together that are top experts. So we have an advantage there. Now, I'm sure some people are going to be watching what we do, and if we're successful, I'm sure others will come along and try to do the same thing. Right. And they should. And I'm not worried about that. It's difficult. PPC is expensive now, and it's difficult to launch. Yep. It's more about brand building. This ties, it's almost like the perfect storm. It brings everything together. And like on NFTs, you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, he has the V Friends, which was successful. He was hot on NFTs like a year ago, and then he kind of backed off a little bit. But I just heard a recording recently where he said he's buying up stuff right now. He's like, this is coming back. It may not get to the level it was, but this is the internet. We're such an infantile state in NFTs and the crypto world, and all this negativity and gloom, and people are losing losing their butt right now. I mean, one of my buddies just lost $15,000 in the FTX deal, and he's kicking himself because 3 days before it went down, he had planned on moving it out, and he just didn't have his ledger with him, and he didn't move it out.
Right.
Lost it. It's going to happen, but this is not going away.
Yeah, but look, at the same time, everybody who has a stock portfolio is also heavily down in
exactly
last year. I mean, Amazon, all these stocks, right? Like Amazon is down like
50%.
Yeah,
I saw today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook 75%.
50%. Shopify, like I bought into the Coinbase IPO, like all this stuff is down, that's probably down like 80% or something.
This is just life and business and gambling. But
if you're a long-term holder, at least on the stock side, I think, and you continue to buy when things are down, you make it up. I think on the NFT side, there's I think blue chip type of NFTs, right? Like
Bulls and Apes.
Like Bulls and Apes, which I mean, we could talk a little bit about. I was gonna say, Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Like that's like
that one's down though quite a bit too, and going through some legal issues and some claims, but they're just a really high level public profile, so they're going to be subject to some of that.
Right. So Bulls and Apes, for those that don't know, the original founder of Helium 10, Manny and Guy, who exited out of Helium, started, along with, I guess, a couple other people, started an NFT project called Bulls and Apes. I didn't go into it right away when it launched, but about a week or so later, I started buying. So the price was low. And then maybe a month later, I started just buying more. And really, I did it because I was more betting on Manny, right? Who I saw, first of all, I knew him from, I don't know, 2017, 2018, time, maybe 2016 or whatever, until he exited. Obviously, he executed very, very well. I also know he's not a guy who's going to, after, a multi-million dollar deal, is going to go, take advantage of people for, a few $100,000 or so, or $1 million or whatever on an NFT. And I was really betting on kind of what he's doing and how he's doing things differently in the NFT space. And, I ended up owning a lot of the NFTs there, some of the God Bulls, and all that stuff has gone up a tremendous amount. And actually, I think in about a month, in February, I think the Apes are going to launch.
Yeah, there's a pre-mint in January.
Yes.
That's a certain number of them, a limited number, and then the big public mint will be in February. But yeah, I think it's going to jump. And what they're doing, they're smart. They have business experience and they're executing, doing this tokenization that they're doing, bringing in all these other communities where you can earn tokens. It's brilliant to bring in this other audience. Right. And the utility that they have, like you and I know I've seen you post sometimes. Manny's brought 18, 19 deals to the table where you can invest in, SpaceX and all these different, he when he exited Helium 10, it was a very healthy 8-figure exit for him and Guy. So he had a lot of money. So he started investing, and he gave me this book for Christmas a couple of years ago. He lives here in Austin as well. Yeah. And he and I are friends, and we go to dinner and hang out sometimes. And he gave me this book for Christmas a couple of years ago about his theory about buying 500 businesses and putting $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 in each of these 500 at the very beginning, and realizing that 499 of them are probably going to go kaput or make you a very small, if any, return. But one of them is going to be the next Uber or Lyft or Facebook or whatever. And so he has access to a lot of deals that we don't have access to it because we're not big, $10 million investors or something, and he's bringing those to the table. If you hold one of these NFTs and you can get in on them, some of them are really, really good. And they just did an event, where they had a handful of people come to Austin and they did some crazy cool stuff. And they're really pumping the community and pumping the gamemanship of this and getting people involved. And they launched, like you said, the Bulls in May, and the Apes are coming out soon. And there's a synergy between them. They're coming out with a card game, which I'm sure will be on Amazon, like a card game version of it. It's really smart execution and gamemanship. And that ties in. Manny, before he did Helium 10, he was involved in the software business. He ran a joke site years ago, and then he was doing apps, and Guy is a brilliant marketer, and that's his background. So the two of them together, plus the other guys they have on the team, it's a no-brainer. And so my wife and I both put in, I think in US dollars, $25,000, and the equivalent, at the time ETH was a little bit more than what it is now. And we have like 100 between us, 140 of the OG Bulls. We have, I don't know how many teams.
140 Bulls. Wow.
and we have like 10. That's nothing. There's a guy that has 600.
Bulls.
And that's the
Wow.
big player has 600. And he's figured it out. This guy was at the event. I didn't go to the event, but I because it was in Austin, and my producer from the $1 Billion Seller Summit, Mark, he produced that event for them.
Yeah.
And so I've heard from him, and Bradley Sutton was there.
Yep.
He went and they said that this guy that owns 600 bulls, he's figured it out that within a couple weeks, I think it was early January, he's going to get to the point where he can make 1 ETH per day in profit off of his bulls. 1 ETH, value, what's ETH right now? 1,300 today or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully that'll go up in 2023. But so he's going to make, over 30 grand a month in profit. And that's not, he could sell some of these bulls and make even more money if he wanted to, but that's just pure passive income profit daily without selling anything or trying to leverage it.
Is that from selling the meth token?
I think it's from selling the meth, and which is in demand. So
Right.
it's that's assuming this will continue, but I'm like, damn. And then, we kind of got busy and didn't do anything for like 3 months, and we didn't mend a bunch of our teams and stuff. So Manny's cousin, who's heavily involved, said, Kevin, I'll come over to your house and I'll do it for you. If you don't have time, I'll make sure you're maximized. So a couple of weeks ago, he came over and made sure our account was maximized, because he knows like every little, we're not up on all the latest little tricks. Like, how do you get extra 5 here and extra this?
Right.
He is. And so we're ready to go for the Apes. But that's an example of like an NFT project. That's one of the few. I think they did the math, and we're up 300% or something like that.
Yeah.
Right now. And it's because it's a real deal and a real company, a real project that's got real execution. And you can see more of that. So this is not going away, and it's not disappearing. And who knows what's going to happen with Bulls and Apes 2 years from now, maybe kaput.
Look,
but I don't think so.
The reasons I joined is, number one, I knew that Manny was going to attract other, let's say, successful entrepreneur type into this. So I joined one for the network of the people.
At the beginning, they didn't want to dox themselves. At the very beginning, they were really keeping Helium 10 and the NFT project separate. And then they realized exactly what you just said. They're like, people don't trust anybody. They don't know us. The people in the NFT world, they don't know me and Guy from Adam. And so they said, we need to bring in people that have the money to spend, which is our, the e-commerce, some of the e-commerce guys that you and I know in our network, and then that know them. Like you said, the reason you got in is because Manny and you trust him. And that's why they had to merge the two.
Right. And because I knew that other people in the network, there'll be a bunch of people in e-commerce, and there's going to be live events, and it's a good networking opportunity. And two, because of the deals that Manny shares, which, a lot of I'm on AngelList. I was on AngelList before, and Manny, shares some deals from there. But the advantage is, one, by the time a deal gets to Manny, it's vetted by multiple people, and he shares the ones he's investing in. And he also typically negotiates lower fees on these deals that have a percentage of profits. If profits are made on the deal, you pay a percentage of profits. And Manny, typically, because he's getting, larger quantity of money and relationships into it, he's negotiating a lower fee. Those are kind of the reasons that I joined, because I said, okay, worst case scenario, let's say even if I just buy one bull, right? Like, now I get into this network, and I'll have, opportunity to join. And then kind of I saw the benefits of the deals and kind of being more active. And then I today I have a couple of God bulls, I think 24 bulls, and maybe like 30 of the teens or something like that.
Awesome.
Which is, more in NFTs than I put into anything else. And, I didn't really have much in terms of like, I didn't invest or lose really in any like NFTs. I bought some, I sold, flipped some, whatever, when it was hot, but I didn't really invest in anything. But, in this particular project, I thought, okay, if I can bet on anyone, like, I'll bet on somebody who's done it before successfully and is going to treat it like a real business. Because, usually if you let's say Manny had $1 million exit, right? Which obviously we know he had multiple 8 figures, but if he had $1 million exit, the next one you want a 5x, right? Or whatever it is. You're not looking to do less. So, I knew that he's going to look to make this, bigger than Helium, and, kind of invest, and had the money to invest in it too, right?
Yeah, they did that guarantee. I mean, that had been never heard of. I mean, they said, if you buy one of our NFTs, they're 0.17 ETH at the time.
Right.
Or 0.22, depending on when you got in, 0.22. which at that time was, $300 to $500, depending on where you got in on the ETH in US dollars terms to get in. And they said, like, look, if you hold, we'll buy this back. If you think we're full of crud, we will buy this back from you in anytime you want in the next 6 months. There's a few rules. You can't have sold it. You can't have done a few things.
You have to buy it at the mint, right?
We'll buy it back. It's a money back guarantee. So they raised $4 million on their initial mints in 5 days, and they didn't spend a dime of that. That money all stayed in an account with a couple guards on it. And then I'm just kidding, but it stayed in an account and they didn't touch it. They, like you said, they funded the whole thing themselves. They funded everything, and they didn't touch that money. And I think they told me they had 4 people or something actually take it. I think it was 4. I could have that wrong. It was less than 10.
Right.
That actually asked for their money. It was next to none.
Right. And those people would have been able to sell today, at 3 or 4 times what they paid originally.
And when they introduced these apes, there's a whole, for those of you that don't know, you can go to bullsandapesproject.com and see it. You got to make sure you go to that specific link. There's a couple out there that aren't the same, but bullsandapesproject.com, but they have a whole lore. So there's this whole story, like comic book story, like Avatar kind of story about these different worlds, and they give you a few hints of how you want to play the quote unquote play the game of owning these things. And so they're introducing these apes, and they're going to be synergistic with the bulls, and I think it's going to shoot the value up of everything. And I think we're going to see some big jumps here in the next, like you said, in the next couple months.
Yeah. It should get really, really interesting. What else are you working on? I know you have Product Savant, and you also have a virtual and a live $1 billion seller summit coming up. Yeah,
I'm wrapping up right now. I got a seasonal business that does really, really well. I'm in the calendar space.
Right.
So this time of year is just, it's like selling milk because calendars expire.
Right.
So, come January, even though you still have a full year left, nobody wants to buy a full price calendar. So, and you've got to make sure you get rid of your inventory. Worst case, I can sell into February or March at a discount.
Right.
But so that's a big focus right now is we're totally sold out of 1 unit. We're about to sell out of a second one. And I got a couple others that, just managing that, just totally get rid of that stock.
Right.
But one of the things I do on that, just from an e-commerce perspective, is sometimes I misguess. I make a forecast. How many calendars do we need? We're going to sell 10,000 of this unit this year on Amazon. We're going to sell 5,000 because last year we sold 4,000, or what are we going to sell? So I mess it up. Like the one we're sold out of, I doubled the number and it's still sold. It's sold out. But another one, I raised the number, and it could be because of the cover. The cover can make a huge difference, just like it's your primary image. And that one is not doing quite as well. And so what I do with the extras is every calendar that goes out, there's a little 4x6 card inside, just like those magazines, magazine subscription things that fly out when you buy a magazine. And it says, congratulations, you've won a free random calendar. Just send $10 postage and handling, and then you get a free $20 calendar. And I use that to get rid of all the extra stock, and I build a mailing list. And so I get a lot of people that get the calendar, like, cool, I'll get a free one. Here's $10. And I send them the excess stock. So it self-liquidates. It costs me about $6 to actually send it out. And my cost on the calendar is $1.50. So I'm making $2 on every one of those. And I'm getting a lead, which then I send a direct mail postcard. So that I'm tied up in that heavily right now, working on the Green Ocean Labs project, like we mentioned about the NFT project. And then, the $1 billion seller summit, I have a virtual one coming in February 22nd to the 24th, which, there's a lot of virtual events, and a lot of them are pre-recorded, or they're on Zoom or something, but we don't do it that way. It's I think you've been on it.
Yes.
It's totally different. We use a software called Hop In, and it's got like breakout rooms, live chat, everything is presented live. It's totally different, has a totally different feel. So I started it during COVID because nobody could travel, and I was just going to do it once, but it became so popular. I was like, why not continue doing it? So yeah, that one's coming in February. It's about $1,500 for that one, but it's all high level. It's the speakers. This is not stuff you hear on podcasts. This is not stuff you hear on some other free summit or something. So it's all high level stuff. The speakers are motivated with cash prizes to actually come and deliver. And then I have a live event that I've been doing. It's been in Austin the last four times. Started in 2019, but I said, you know what? Austin's cool. People love coming to Austin, but it's time to make a change. Let's do it in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
So in June, we're doing it in Puerto Rico, and We don't have the dates yet. I'm actually flying out there with my producer, Mark, next week. Actually, we won't confirm it until we actually go to the hotel, eat the food, stay there, before I bring a bunch of
That's nice.
high level sellers. We want to make sure this is going to meet the expect. So we're going out there to sort all that out, and then we'll be announcing the dates for June.
Nice.
That's a little bit more expensive event, but we do it. This last one we just did in September was probably the best one. I'm sorry, August. We did in August. The best one yet. People were raving. I mean, we did the scavenger hunt type of thing that at the beginning, everybody was like, what is this? And by the end of it, they were like, that's the best freaking thing ever on the way we did it. So we do a lot of cool stuff. It's not just listen to a bunch of presentations. It's a lot of networking, a lot of cool activities. We're going to maybe even be doing something. Yeah, I can't say yet, but a really cool game out there that's going to be pretty cool. A lot of fun. I think people will be talking about like Squid Games type of thing. It's gonna be good.
Buy a one-way ticket to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, one-way ticket exactly. Go to Puerto Rico to retire. But yeah, so I mean, I organize the speakers on that and sell the tickets, but Mark takes care of all the nitty-gritty, so I don't really have to deal with all the little small details and stuff. He handles all that for me. We've been working together like 30 years, so it works good. And then Steve and I are doing some stuff at Product Savant. We have something called Brand Genesis, where we basically, it's 5 products around aimed at a similar avatar, and it's aimed at more of the big sellers. This is not a done for you thing or anything. We basically find opportunities, source it, and then that's it. We turn it over to you. It's up to you to launch it, to brand it, to modify it, to do everything from that point forward. We just take some of the dirty work out, and we're doing that for a few big sellers and aggregators out there, and so far that seems to be going all right. And then I'm selling on my other accounts. I have fitness products and dog products. I don't talk about those a whole lot, but been doing that since 2015.
And I saw that Helium, actually I was over at Helium HQ, and I think you were supposed to be there the next day, but you had flu or something.
Yeah, when I came out to AMZ Innovate back in November in New York, I came back and I felt sick. I was like, shit, did I get COVID?
Right.
And so I did a COVID test. It was negative, but I felt really, really, really bad. And I was like, well, maybe I got the flu. The flu's going around everywhere. This RSV. Yeah, whatever it is. I was like down and out in bed. And that's not like me. And even my wife was like, I've never seen you like this. Usually if you're sick, you still plug on.
Right.
You're like totally out of it. And I was like, I did another COVID test a couple of days later, still negative. And I'm like, what is this? So I got one of those little pulse meters and put it on my finger, and it's showing my blood oxygen level was like 77%.
Oh my God.
So I called my doctor. We have a concierge doctor. I called him, and he said, if it's below 88% when you're resting, you need to go to the ER.
Right.
Really below 90, but 88. And I was like, all right. So I went into the ER. They checked me all out, and they scanned. They did an X-ray. Said, oh, you got pneumonia. They took me in and admitted me to the hospital and put some tubes in my nose to help me with the breathing, try to get the oxygen levels up. And the next day they did a CT scan, and the CT scan showed I had water on my lungs. And so they're like, we got to get rid of that. And that was so they got rid of that. Ended up staying in the hospital a few days, and so I was in no condition to come to supposed to speak at the Helium 10 event.
Right.
And I was like, I can't do it. It took me until really about 2 weeks ago before I fully recovered from that.
Well, it's good you recovered, and Helium Elite will continue to have kind of live.
Yeah, they do 4 of those a year. It's quarterly.
Right.
They either do them in Irvine, sometimes they do them in Vegas or at some other place. They'll probably do one around Prosper, I'm sure, in March.
You're gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be at Prosper. Yeah, I'll see you at ASGTG. I'm doing the sellers cruise. I'm gonna give that a shot and see what happens on that.
Okay.
In February, and then on March doing Prosper, and then I'm going to end of that month. I'm going over to Japan. Gary is doing his Japan mastermind thing. So
Gary Wang.
Yeah, he's doing in Tokyo, how to sell in Japan type of mastermind thing. It looks interesting, and it's an excuse. I've been to Japan many times. My wife's never been. It's like I want to take you to Japan, so it's a good excuse to go and do a little business and write the whole thing off.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are upcoming. I'll be in Australia, I think in November for the Southern Seller Fest, and then $1 Billion Seller Summit.
Nice.
SellerCon, I think, is in Austin.
I think Ryan Moran is also doing CapCon in April. end of April in I think in Austin.
Is he doing it? Is he doing it the big one like he's done at the hotel, or is he doing it like he did last time, where it was a very exclusive kind of?
I think he said he's keeping it smaller, not as big as I think he did in the past, from what I saw in his emails. And he's another person that, I was going to mention before. He's launched an NFT for community, for his mastermind Capitalist Pigs, which he's put through as these pig NFTs, which the utility is basically access to the mastermind. So also interesting in how he's bringing community and opportunities for investments in various companies and deals that kind of he's bringing to that community. I was kind of considering, I don't have it, but something I was looking at too, just because, again, his network and maybe opportunities to invest in some e-commerce businesses and, and the network itself, obviously. Let's end off on a couple of like predictions. 2023, we're about to kick off the new year next week. What do you see maybe changing as far as selling on Amazon?
Well, I think there's a lot. I just did a podcast with Danny today on you did. I know you guys did 2022 last week. Yeah, that was a good episode. I really liked it. You and Brandon and everybody and Steve on that. And we just did y'all did 2022. We did 2023 today. But I think, Amazon's becoming harder and harder to actually sell on. There's still great opportunity. But to build a real company where you can really get that freedom, it's taken more money and more effort and more team and now than ever before. That doesn't mean if you have $5,000 or $10,000, can you do something? But it's all relative. I mean, what's your goal? Is it to make a little bit of extra cash to go out to dinner? Or do you live in Pakistan where $800 profit a month actually is life-changing? But for me and you, that's not even going to, pay your car payment or something. So it's all relative, but so I think that's happening. I think you're going to see Amazon's going to release a lot more data. I know you post regularly, like, look at this. They just did this. I think you're going to see a lot more data come out from the horse's mouth. Some of it, I think Mina was saying today, some of it's not accurate. You got to be careful with some of it. He's noticing there's some inaccuracies in some of it.
You have to understand what the data they're showing you is. So example, you have search query performance. One of the aspects of it, they show volume, but that's volume that includes multiple sessions from the same person in a day, which is different to how typically like Helium and other things calculate. And even, search frequency, I think, is based on one session every 24 hours. So there's some differences, and you have to understand what you're actually looking at, and Amazon's definition of what that data set is to, understand what it is.
I think you're going to see AI be a bigger role in Amazon sellers, like Chat GPT. There's a lot of software tools out there now that say they're AI. There's like repricers, and there's some PPC automation tools that say it's not AI, it's algorithms, it's bullshit. It's AI. They're not using AI.
But I think you will see.
But true AI, I think you're going to see more of that to build listings, to do testing with, to create bullet points, to analyze reviews, to look at
Jasper is already doing that. They have a specific module for bullets and description. Jasper.ai for
there's a software called Percy or something too that actually
they reach out.
Does it for specific Amazon sellers. So I think you're going to see more of that. The Amazon, this inventory thing that's been a big bugaboo. I don't think that was a warehouse space issue on Amazon like it has been was during COVID. I think it's a labor issue. They're not saying that, but I think they just don't have people that can check this stuff in. And I think they'll get some of that sorted out. I think you're going to see the fees go up. It's going to continue to get more expensive from PPC to fulfillment to whatever. The recession, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a recession. Nobody's buying anymore. For me, I'm up this year over year on the same products. I know a lot of other people that are up. So maybe some people aren't buying, some of the people that are not, under $20,000, $30,000 annual income or something, maybe they're not buying as many spatulas anymore, but it's being made up elsewhere. And so I'm not too worried about that. Even the Motley Fool, I think they just came out and said Amazon stock should, it's down 50%, but they're expecting a big recovery this year. I think there's so many things, but those are some of the key ones.
I think another area that's going to continue kind of bullish on is the whole buy with Prime space. I had a meeting with guy who used to be chief of staff for Andy Jassy, who's now responsible for it. He came to New York. I had a meeting with him, and they're investing a lot into buy with Prime. And you'll be able to drive. I mean, we're about to test with a client using Amazon data and audiences like DSP to drive traffic to the website.
Well, I think Shopify, they've been teasing it for a while, but if they're able to launch in 2023 Shopify marketplaces,
right,
combined with buy with Prime and checkout with Amazon,
right,
all those, I think that could become number 2 behind Amazon as far as where
right,
you need to be. Amazon sellers who are looking to Walmart or to looking to something else,
right.
I think you need to pay attention to what Shopify is doing. And if they actually launch this marketplace that they're talking about, I think that could be huge,
I
combined
agree.
with
I
what you
think
just
they have
said.
I think they have to pivot to marketplace, even though for years they said we're not launching a marketplace. I agree. I think the signs are there now based on the app that they will. And I also think that they will eventually form a deal with Amazon on Buy with Prime, because they're losing a lot with Buy with Prime. They're losing the merchant processing fee. They're losing the fulfillment fee, which they bought Deliver, like $1 billion company.
Yeah, and now Amazon's their
And
Deliver.
Amazon's doing the fulfillment. Amazon's taking the merchant processing.
Well,
And
when it came out, they said it was, Shopify came and said, "Oh, don't use this. It's got some bad code or something." And
so
then Amazon went in and they modified one line of the code to make Shopify happy or to dispel whatever they were saying. And now it's,
I think eventually Amazon will tell them, okay, we're charging 3%, we'll give you a quarter or something on every sale, and kind of, let's make a deal type thing, and maybe Shopify will get behind it, But yeah, I mean, Amazon, it's a big blow, I think, to Shopify what Amazon did. And I think it's brilliant. And like you said, on the data side, my understanding in talking to this guy, Doug, who used to work like directly, he was his technical advisor and chief of staff with Andy Jassy, is I said to him, look, Amazon's been releasing a lot more data, in the last year or two. Like, he said, yeah, Andy Jassy's kind of philosophy is different than Bezos. He's more open, and so, which means open in terms of sharing the data, and open into not just Amazon, right? And Andy Jassy, he was in charge of AWS, which was like the underlying, cloud storage of the internet. And Buy with Prime is kind of that same thing, right? It's now the underlying, checkout cart of e-commerce across the internet. And Amazon has a ton to gain, 3% of all those D2C orders, plus fulfillment, plus merchant processing, is huge opportunity for them. And they're putting a lot of money, I think behind it. Amazon bought in 2019, I think, or 2020, they bought an e-commerce platform in Australia. It was something with a Z was the name. It's kind of like a small Shopify type player based in Australia.
Yeah, I think I remember. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And then they
Zenify or something like that.
Yes. And then they shut it down. But all those people they took in for the Buy with Prime team, for the e-commerce team. And I think that was the reason they bought it, for those people to work on the, on the D2C side. So I think that's going to get interesting too. And I agree with you on the AI. Like, I think it's going to help democratize better image creation, and, better image creation. Sellers will be able to submit a raw photo and it'll create, I've already seen stuff like this. Like, you put a ring, it puts the ring on somebody's finger, it creates all different backgrounds. And there's a tool right now just connected with this company called Genius.ai, GUNUS, that does this for Facebook. They allow you to upload images, and images that will create more images from it with different backgrounds, lifestyle stuff, AI, as well as video from it. And then they connect to your Facebook ads data, and they have a lot of data from clients. And also, based on your audience and your targeting, you can post like all the different images you want to post for a creative, and they'll rank it in order of what they think will get the best CTR based on the image and the audience it's tied to, and the data that they have on click-through rates and images and all this stuff. So I'm going to actually took on like an advisorship with them. I'm going to try to help them bring that to Amazon, essentially.
That's cool.
Custom image, beta for sponsored brand, videos, all the creative, right? Sponsored display creative, DSP creative, all these things where you could plug into the same thing. You can see CTR rates on PPC, and then you can kind of have this predictive analysis and image creation. I mean, think of all the sellers now that haven't even implemented sponsor brand custom image because they haven't taken the time or created the images or sized it or whatever. You post, white background photo, it'll create Amazon posts for you. It'll do, all these things, which is, I think that's where things are going, right? Which means people's creative are kind of going to get better, right? So you want to make sure you have really great creative and video, and like you step up.
What would be cool? And just if it got to this point with the AI, maybe your genius guys could do this, is what if you could put a picture as your main image on Amazon? It could be, instead of a static file, it could be like some .ai or some a .gif or whatever it is. but it ties to some sort of database, and it does exactly what you just said with Genius, where it changes out the backgrounds, where it changes out the model based on the profile of the customer. So if I'm a mom that has a baby and I'm shopping for something, the picture is going to be of a mom similar to my age that, that has a baby in the background or whatever of the toaster that I'm selling or whatever. Or it's me, and they know I like sports and football, it's going to be like there's a TV with football on the background or whatever, where you could totally customize the image on the fly that actually displays to really target that customer.
And
that would be cool.
I can see that happening first, like on Facebook or Shopify, where, if the user is logged in or whatever, if you know the user, then you can display different products or whatever to them based on shopping behavior. But yeah, and I also think Amazon will probably let you do zip code targeting in PPC as well, something they haven't done, and also maybe share where outside traffic is coming from. Right, today you get organic sales, you don't know the source of it, on like where all this traffic is coming from. I don't know why Amazon doesn't necessarily share unless you have an attribution link that actually works. You don't know the source of. I was talking to a guy who has like a content sites, and they feature products there and they get affiliate and all this stuff. And I was talking to him, and he's like, sellers would know, right? They would see like where the traffic's coming from, I'm like, no. Amazon doesn't share any of this information with you, like where your outside traffic is coming from, right? Which, like, maybe some blog just featured you and then you want to go reach out to them, but you don't even know that the traffic came from them and all this stuff. So I think you'll see zip code targeting. I think you'll see more data, more understanding where traffic is coming from. So I think it's gonna get interesting to people who kind of implement and take advantage of like AI image creation and all the things that are gonna come out over the next year. I think it's gonna be pretty exciting. Just seeing ChatGPT is like crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy what you can do. You're talking about outside traffic. I heard you recently on a podcast say that you're not huge on influencers right now. That's the hot thing, is go find influencers. And you said you're cutting back, and I'm in your camp. I mean, it's a hot thing. Everybody's saying go do it. There's software tools to help you find them, but I think it's hit or miss. And if you find one that works, it can be freaking awesome. But the vast majority don't work, and they don't move the needle. Yeah, they might sell a couple units here or there, but for the effort, it's really difficult. And I know I'd like to hear what you elaborate a little bit on that.
One of our clients has a product that's like, top 200 in beauty. And he has a couple of influencers, like million followers or whatever he has a relationship with. When they post, he gets sales, like significant sales. And he was using them a lot in Q4. And we've done influencer marketing for people, but our challenges here with it have been twofold. One, tracking, very, very challenging, because when you have an organic post on TikTok, for example, the only link on TikTok is in the bio. So when people see something, if they do go to Amazon, they're going to search the brand name or the type of product, and then they may or may not buy your product. They may buy something else, but you don't really know, right? You have to really measure. Did branded searches increase? Do you have enough branded searches in search query performance for that to even show up and increase? So you have to measure that. You have to measure did sales increase? But meanwhile, sellers are making changes to price. They run lightning deals. There's other factors that come into account, whether or not, what is the attribution of the sales? Attribution doesn't work. Like Amazon themselves told me, in-app to in-app, like TikTok to the Amazon mobile app, like it doesn't work. The tech's not there, and they need to work closer with the actual like social media companies in order to get that, to work, to get the tracking. And we have also run some ads from.
Well, you're saying that attribution from a TikTok doesn't work if they go to the Amazon app to order?
If you're on TikTok and you click on attribution and then
you click on an attribution link.
On attribution link and you opens the Amazon app, it does not track or work well. And we saw cases because we ran ads on TikTok with attribution link where people click, because on an ad, it's right there, right? People click. So we would see anywhere between, so on the TikTok ad platform, we would see like 1,000 clicks. And then on attribution, we would see anywhere between 40 and 70% of those clicks actually registering. So we'd see, 400, 600. We would not see all 1,000 clicks that we're seeing on TikTok ad platform for clicks register. So for whatever reason, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but it doesn't work well.
They got to do deep linking or whatever that's called deep to actually get that to work.
Deep
That's what Pixelify Me or whatever that
Yes,
software
yes,
tool used to do to bypass some of those
yes,
problems.
yes, but we just saw consistently, we never saw 100% of the traffic be attributed. So that's another issue. And then, I agree that, sometimes it's hit or miss. We were able to try to do multiple things with that content. So we always got the content from the influencer that is owned now by the brand. We got them to sign something. We took it and we repurposed it. So we had something vertical. We edited it and added like on the side different text and other aspects to it so that we can use it on sponsored brand video ads, because you can't do what's called, I think it's called like pillaring or whatever, where Amazon will not approve on a sponsored brand ad, video ad, center video with like black on the side. So you have to edit it. We would take text, we'd add other things. So we try to leverage it in other ways. And I still think getting that content is good because you can take it, put it on your storefronts, you can put it on your listing, you can add it to sponsored brand video ad. You can use that stuff somewhere. You can even have, add a page to your storefront that just says, customers call a testimonial page. You just have 10 videos there of people, using the product. But at the same time, you could do that with, using Abilia or using Ian Sales has a joinbrands.com, using something like that, which doesn't, is not necessarily relying on the influencer posting it, So I think tracking is hard and it gets difficult, and you don't really know how much value you're getting with driving it to Amazon. And you cannot form deals with the influencers where you say, if they use your coupon code, I'll pay you a percentage, because a lot of times people just don't use the code, on Amazon, and you're just going to end up not paying the influencer enough for what they drove if they really did drive stuff, and people don't use the coupon. So I think it's tricky. I think if I were to use influencers, I would use it for the content, and then I would maybe leverage that for, running ads on social media to my website or, in other ways. And I think the best way to kind of grow your Amazon business is focusing on the levers you have, on Amazon, and then maybe building your own audience on social media that, you can kind of control and investing in putting content on your page. You can maybe get influencer content or hire a guy or gal in their 20s, pay them, a couple $100 a month to just kind of create videos for you with your products and kind of be a face on your social media and help you grow your social media. And I think that, maybe is a better route, but I don't think you're going to drive tons and tons of sales with it at the moment. If you are, it's challenging to track.
Yeah,
that's kind of what we've seen. I'm also not bullish on Google to Amazon. We do a little bit of it for people who have very high ACoS, like pet supplements, where you can get kind of a similar ACoS, let's say, with Google, but we don't see the ranking effects anymore that we saw originally when, 2 years ago when it was on BDSS, right? Like on that virtual, like talking how to do it properly and how to leverage it. I think Amazon has changed the algorithm, and we just see kind of low conversion rates, 1%, 2% at best conversion rates from Google, and the ACoS is just high. So, I think investing in your creative, launching more products, innovating there, spending your money with like a Gemba to develop something really different, patentable, whatever, I think is a better, create an awesome product that's different, I think is a better use case of your funds, than spending, if you had to spend 5 to 10 grand with Gemba to develop something versus 5,000 influencer marketing, I'd say go spend it with Gemba and, develop like real differentiation, because that's what you're going to have is, if we say that, creative is going to be easier with AI, it's going to be about the product. I think Amazon will make a change with reviews. We've already seen them testing right now. Now you see like the ratings, now they're showing like in big, and they're showing the actual ratings, and the reviews next to it smaller, right? So I think they realize there's a problem where, certain niches everyone has 10,000 reviews, nobody new can come in. I think that's going to change too. So it's going to be more about the product along with the right marketing for it on Amazon. But I really think that differentiation aspect has to be really strong in a lot of your focus. And then, like you said, Shopify and building your own audience and,
NFTs.
and utilize NFTs, create create a community. So it was really nice to catch up. Look forward to seeing you in less than a couple weeks.
That's gonna be good.
Speaking of you, that's ASGTG. If you want to check out that event, there's a sellers dinner after. If you're want to DM me on social media, perhaps there's still tickets. I can get you a ticket. I know I'll see you at that dinner. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in New York. And thanks so much for coming on.
It's been great, man. Anytime. We'll have to do this again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.